Hi, and welcome to Together We Solve, the Power Couple podcast. And we are your hosts, Kelly Houston.
And Derek Jones.
All right, here we go. Our first episode.
Boy, I'm so excited. I'm so glad we're finally doing this. We've been talking about this for a year. Kelly, we're here. Episode one, like you said. Um,
Yeah, so I mean, the goal for this first episode is to get everyone to know who we are and why we are the power couple. So I'm going to just give a little definition of what a power couple is when I Googled it, right? So the definition of a power couple is two people who make each other stronger, face challenges together, and inspire others through their partnership. So do we do that, honey?
I believe we do, but I want to say this. I don't think we started off as a power couple. And I think a lot of people will relate to this. And the reason why I say that, it's not that we weren't powerful individuals, but I
Right.
think we grew to become the power couple. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. I agree. I mean, it takes two strong individuals to come together, and then you're going to have a bigger impact
Right,
when you're working together as a team. And that's why
right,
we do what we love. We
right.
help the community. We help other people because this is something that we were destined to do.
Absolutely destined. I mean, right down to our birthdays being in February 25th and February
Do not
26th.
say the year, my friend.
She's older. She doesn't look older, but she's older.
It's all good. I'm 46 and I'm okay with that. But yes, our birthday's a day apart, and it's amazing because we are so in tune with each other. I take him as he's the male version of me, and I'm the female version of him.
Yeah, so I would relate to that, but wouldn't you agree that there's definitely differences between men and women? And how does it work? Like, I'm sure people want to know. They're like, especially in this day and age, Kelly, how does it work? Like, especially with the feminist movement out there, how does a power couple work? Especially with the new movement in this day and age where women have to lead their way, they don't need a man. How are we able to make it work over these past 7, 8 years?
I feel that it starts within, right? I'm speaking to the ladies out there. I am obviously a woman. I
I hope
have
so.
surprise. No, I'm
No
just playing.
offense, but
I'm just
just
playing. I'm
saying.
playing. Playing. I have two kids. I am divorced, and I was a single mom. Well, their father was involved, but I was single, right, and raising my children, and I had to do things on my own, and you put your mindset to that, right? Like you got
Yeah.
to be independent. You got to be strong for your kids, and you got to go on. And for 5 years, that's what I was doing until we met, right? But when we met, it's like, why would I want to struggle alone? Why would I want to be by myself facing these obstacles? And I want a partner. There's nothing wrong with being strong and independent because that hasn't been taken away from me just because I have a partner.
Are you
Um,
sure though? Because that's not what's being sold. I mean, everyone's saying these days we don't need to get married, we don't need men, and now you have a strong man like me who's very aggressive at times, right? But you're
mhm.
also very aggressive, right? Wouldn't you say? But let's be realistic, right? Like people want to know, like, does this really exist, or are we faking this?
I hope we ain't faking this because it's been
Right,
seven
because
years.
right. But a lot of people are like, oh, I hear a power couple, and they don't really see powerful people. Sometimes they see celebrities, right? But the celebrities, it's kind of manufactured, and then they break up, and they had commercials around it. But this is unique. Not a lot of women and men, especially African American women and men, working together in the community, working together with a split family. I also went through a divorce.
Right.
So we need to dig down in this, and what is at the crux of this? What is causing this? Like where people just don't believe in true power couples. Everyone has to be an individual, or I have to be the head man all the time and take the lead in everything. And I just don't believe that's the true case. We do have our roles, though.
Well, I mean, sometimes I think as a society, have been lost, and as a woman, feel lost, right? So when we're in those situations where we're alone and we feel lost, then we're trying to figure ourselves out, right? And we're trying to pick ourselves up, and then we have no choice. We're playing, a lot of people are playing dual roles in the household if the father's involved or if he's not involved. Everybody
Yeah,
has a different scenario. So, and then in society, if they're telling you like you're good alone, because you're telling yourself, right? As a woman, when you have to be alone at that moment, you're saying like,
yeah,
I'm good I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do this alone. So you gotta pump yourself up. I mean, there's days that I had to pump myself up and say, listen, you could get up, you could do this. Okay, you got the kids, you gotta do all the running around. So, but then it got taken to a whole nother level. Then we're taking it to the point where it's like, oh, I could do this alone and don't need
Right.
anybody. And it's not about need. It's about finding your other half to connect. The power couple is not about being alone and being powerful. The power comes with what I have to bring to the table and what you have to bring to the table. And what are my strengths? What are
Right.
your strengths? And we're coming together. And then we're utilizing those strengths to help other people, whatever, whatever our desires are. And that's what makes us powerful because we both shared a passion in helping in the community because of our past stories, our lives, that we went through. And we wanted to turn that and make it and take that pain and turn it to inspire others. And
Right.
not everybody can do that. Not everybody can say their story because maybe they're ashamed of what they've done in the past, what they've been through. But no one should ever feel ashamed of who they are. You move past that, you grow. But it helps when you have another person to help you grow and you have a support system. You shouldn't have to do this alone. You shouldn't.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I understand, in this social media day and age, the way TV pumps it out, the way it's, everything's not fair, and it's been told, men have no right, and you know what I mean. But here's the thing, and I also want to tell guys too, you can be a strong man and still have a strong woman, and that's going to lead to actually my first question is like I could still lead all the time. Kelly lets me lead a lot, right? And believe it or not, sometimes like Kelly, you can make a decision, right? It gets to that point, but make no mistake about it, she's a dynamo on her own, right? So she has her own strengths, and she's a very much a go-getter like I am, and she pushes things out quicker than me at times, depending on what it is. So you can rely on that woman to help you become a stronger man. I mean, that saying is accurate to me, where behind every great man um, is a strong woman. And what I mean by that is that I wouldn't be here doing a podcast today. I used to be fearful to talk in front of people. I used to be fearful to get in front of cameras. I'm no longer fearful of that because Kelly helped me. She helped me through it. She's like, you got to tell your story. You got to get in front of people. You talk behind the scenes to me and everyone else. I manage a team. I talk to people all the time. I'm always speaking, but those small things, Kelly was used to doing those things because she kind of grew up in that industry, helped me get out of my shell. Right. So, guys, I'm telling you, if you have a strong woman behind you who backs you up and respects you, see, a lot of men don't like the dynamic sometimes because they don't feel respected. Right. And
Well, and I think the problem is too
it's
is
going
if
to
the
grab some.
male has his own insecurities about himself and he's not comfortable with himself and what he wants to accomplish in life, sometimes that plays a role in it
In
because
some
if
cases,
if you have a woman, let's say, is making more money than you or something, or has a career that is considered, higher than your career, whatever it may be, sometimes they feel like they're beneath, but nobody should ever feel like that. Like you shouldn't feel like
yeah,
that. But that's what causes problems too.
I would say sometimes that's the case, but and depending on the man, but I
Hmm.
would say this though, Kelly. I have to challenge you a little bit on this one,
Mm,
and this is where the
mm,
dynamics come in.
mm.
Maybe it's not also insecurity. I mean, women want a man that's 6 foot tall, that is making over $100,000 a year. That's in shape. I happen to have all those qualities,
Yeah, why you
but
sitting here describing yourself? Like you trying to
but
give
I
yourself
mean,
kudos?
yes, but realistically, if you look at the statistics out there, it's just not realistic. It's like that's only like a couple percent of the
But what does that
population.
have to do with a man having
So this is where
insecurities?
that's where I'm leading to. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm leading to.
Okay.
So society has made men feel lesser. So even if they were secure, sometimes because you're not maybe making $100,000 or more a year, maybe you're not 6 feet tall. This is where it comes in. And say you have a beautiful woman right by your
Right.
side, and you maybe you're only 5'8". You may not feel as secure because of those things. And this is what I mean by you do respect me, because even if I was not 6 feet tall, I believe you would still respect me, because of my presence and the way I handle myself and things of that nature. But again, I think what I'm trying to get to is we didn't arrive at this position where we're at currently today. We had to grow into it because, as you can see, we're not going to always agree on every single
Oh,
definition, everything, and nor should you, right? And nor should you. But I'm going to challenge what she says, and she can challenge what I say respectfully.
but it goes both ways,
That's what I said,
okay?
respectfully.
No, what I mean is you're saying that society makes they've put these you got to be 6 foot blah blah blah, right, on men, so if they're not, they feel insecure. It's same thing for women, right? Because
Oh, yeah,
social
yeah,
media and what people see, a woman has to have a certain figure, and all these women are getting BBLs and making their
yeah, right.
body and doing things that I'm like, why? Like, love yourself, right? You should have to do all that, because then men in the society made that okay, like that's defining a woman,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
then you get these women that now are going to be insecure, same thing, because if they're not looking the way we're seeing on Instagram model or things like that, they are insecure in their own self, and then that can cause an issue with
yeah. Like,
insecurity
listen. A
for
lot of
women.
attractive men. I know when I was younger, I don't. I'm much more respectful now. Maybe they'll date a woman that's not as attractive, which is fine, right? And they'll tell them that they're the most attractive women in the world and sleep with them and do all these things. And now that woman expectations for their next man, let's say that guy leaves them, is high. And we create some
It's
of that.
your fault.
Yeah. So in some cases, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know it is.
Yeah.
Don't sit here
So
and smile like that.
I know. Point being is though, can people realistically in this day and age, 2024, Kelly, do what we're doing and grow
Of
into?
course they can,
And
but you have to want
how?
to.
How?
You have to
How?
want to,
What is the
because things
like
have to
how?
be worth fighting for. We've lost that, right? No
So
relationship,
I'm worth fighting for.
I
I'm sorry,
guess.
guys.
No,
Anyway, yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that we give up so easy on things sometimes because we want instant gratification, right? Living in a society of the internet, social media, TikTok, right?
Yeah,
Everything is
right now.
quick. I
Boom.
want right now. You do this, right? So if something is not working, we're ready to move on to the next, like,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, but in order to grow with someone, you can't just move on to the next, right?
Mhm.
Whatever's happening, whatever's making a stop at that moment, I'm not going to say it's always that person's always the right thing for you, but you have to work through it. And sometimes even working through it, and even if it doesn't work, but you learn from that, right? You even learn from yourself of why you work through that issue with that person. It doesn't always have to be like the grass ain't always greener on the other side. We're quick to go. And that's why there's a lot of split families and things like
Right.
that, and a lot of divorce. Not to say that some divorces are valid, but sometimes it's because we give up too fast.
No, I mean I totally agree. A lot of people give up too fast. Sometimes you do have to get out of a certain situation. Like you said, we're both divorced. At what point? I just want to ask you: do you feel that we really transitioned into a power couple? What people perceive us as a power couple?
Well, let's get it straight. We didn't name ourselves that. Others did.
Right. No, you're right. We didn't.
So
Right. That's
others,
how. Right. We could
right,
tell the backstory.
right. So
Right. So
others
we'd show up at
seen us. We'll
events.
show up at an event and people would tell us that. So
Right.
it was like, oh, okay. And then they kept saying that, and it was like, okay, so this is what we're perceived, and we're gonna embrace it, right? We're gonna embrace it because we work hard to get to where we are right now. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an
No.
easy road individually, and it wasn't an easy road together.
Well, let's touch on that maybe. What is it a little bit individually from your story, right? Maybe a little bit about your backstory, um, and then maybe a little bit about my backstory, and really then what have we been doing these past 3 years that has led to us? We're just now, I think we're pretty known in our city, Bristol, where I was born, where now we're stretching out and we're doing some amazing things across the platform, many different platforms, right? So, what is it that you think at what moment or what time or when was it started clicking, do you think, where we really started becoming that power couple? And again, we didn't name ourselves, but what has led up to it? Well, like,
Well,
what's the
you
backstory?
you wanted to go back. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna go back as individuals, then I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
Just
back
we should
to
touch on it.
about relationships, our relationships with people that is in our families or that
Right.
we've come in
Broken
contact with.
families.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So since I was raised by my grandparents, which was my father's mother, and father, at 4 months, left with them. And my mother, she was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and my father was he was alcoholic.
All right.
And I was left with my grandparents, right? So growing up, all I knew is I was left with my grandparents, and I love my grandparents dearly. May they rest in peace. And then was raised with my aunts and uncles, which was my father's siblings. Not to say I didn't see my parents. They were in my life, but my main family was my grandparents. But growing up, even all the love that I was getting from my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, there was always going to be a void, right? And
Right.
especially as a woman to her father, um, you don't have that male role. Like, yes, I had my uncles, but I didn't have my dad, right? So growing up, the feeling of that abandonment and not having that father and daughter relationship would make you make wrong choices, what made me make wrong choices,
Right.
and
I
the
agree.
people that I was around, and the choices that I made, and the relationships that I had. And my choices and relationships were made because of the feelings that I felt. I felt weak and felt, I could say, worthless, because why did my parents leave me like that, right?
Right.
So
Right.
when you're trying to build a healthy relationship with someone, you have to dig deep into those feelings, right? And build trust with that person. And it's hard when you
Right. Right.
have a lack of that trust. So I can say, you know, I was divorced, I was separated for the 5 years before we met. And I'll say the funny story. I'll say the funny story of when I knew, and you're going to laugh because I'm going to say it, when I knew that you weren't going nowhere, right? So New
That's
York
our
is going to
that's our
come out,
joke.
right?
That's our joke. We
So
can.
our joke is
Yeah.
that I sat on his lap one day and I was coming and visiting from New York, and I sat and I looked at him, and for whatever reason, that moment in time, I said, "You're not going
So
anywhere."
she didn't sit on my lap. She straddled me
Okay, you want to get that technical? Okay, and at that
and
moment, I
looked
was
into
like,
my
and
eyes,
looked
though.
into his eyes,
Yeah.
and maybe it was a little psychotic, but it's okay.
A
All
lot
right,
of a
that's the
lot
Latina in
of
me,
psychotic.
right? And I
Yeah.
said, "You're not going nowhere," because I knew, like, I left, and I left New York behind, and I left the drinking behind, all that,
Yeah.
right? And I brought my kids here, and I wanted a new life, a new start. I was seeing things through a clear lens because I wasn't drinking, and I knew that at that moment, no matter what we go through, because you were going through your divorce at that time and things, so there
Right.
was a lot
Correct.
of things, right?
Correct.
And you were dealing with your own
Correct.
trauma
Which we're
and
gonna
stuff,
touch on
right?
that. Yeah.
um you weren't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So either we're gonna just sit here and we're gonna get through it, and you could be mad at me and you could sit on the couch, I'm gonna sit there, and I'm gonna sit over here, but you ain't going nowhere. And that mentality has carried me through our relationship, because that has always said to me, like, okay, when times get rough, and I was good to run away from situation. That's what I mean, right? We're quick to run away and say, all
Right.
right, I'm not going to deal with that. I had to deal with it because I told myself that I was going to deal with it. And it wasn't easy, but I did it, right? So as I grew within myself, then that helped us grow together. And not to mention COVID, with COVID, when we
Yeah.
were home alone
Right. Correct.
24/7 together.
Right. You could either break apart. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot
And
of
we know people,
relationships.
right?
Most, I would say, a lot of relationships broke apart during
Right.
COVID.
But we
We
didn't.
became
Stronger.
well because that this.
Right.
So I mean, we'll touch
Yeah.
on what you
But
know.
but now
Yeah.
you answer that question.
Yeah. So ask the question again.
No, you already know the question. Go
All right.
ahead.
So
What is the point?
here's the thing: when you have a man who grew up rough, as I did, and when I mean rough. I mean I went through hell. I mean, I went through hell when I was young. I lived with a mother who pretty much, you want to talk about abandoned? I would be in multiple different places. I moved throughout my years, and I followed this behavior as I got older myself at least 20 times. I lived in every school system you can think of, from Bristol to Torrington, with people that I didn't even know. My brother and sister were taken away. I wish I would have went with them because they got taken away to a family, where middle class family my brother got adopted to. My sister got adopted to a grandfather in Vermont, which is part of the family. I got left with my mother so she can use me as a resource through the social system. I was literally used like that. So she would drop me off, or we'd go into a motel, or I would go live with my grandmother.
And I just want to interject because a lot of people, when you would say the story and brush
Yeah, I would
over
brush over it.
your siblings being taken away and you stayed with your mom, I think a lot of people thought like you benefited from staying
No,
with your mom,
no.
and that was the total opposite.
It, yeah, I'm glad you're clearing it up just as I am now. Yeah, it was, I grew up, I had to fight. My mother would beat me. You know, I I was a good kid for the most part, but then I rebelled like anyone else. I didn't know my father. Matter of fact, different birth certificate. On the birth certificate's a different name, a different father. It's a white guy. My father's black. If you can see here, right? He had his own issues, but I would have preferred to live with him.
But let me ask you a question,
Yeah,
because let me just piggyback over something that you said, or back up a little bit when you
sure.
said that you dealt with all that, right? But how? So in those moments, if you can
Yeah,
go back to a moment in time where you rebelled, you gave up. Like, where was that moment when it was just like, you know what? I'm trying here, but now something snapped, right? Something
yeah.
happened.
So it was at the age of 14. I'm glad you asked. I can tell you where I lived. So I lived in Summer Street in Bristol, and it was behind. It was an apartment. You go down, and there's like a. It still exists. The apartment still exists in the back of Summer Street. I wasn't drinking at that time, but there was drug dealers in my house, and I was playing sports. I was playing basketball. I had just made the basketball team for Chippens Hill Middle School in Bristol. I was excited. I never got to play. Made it to one practice. But night after night, my house was full of drug dealers, and I mean, we're talking about drug dealers with guns on the table. I mean, they knew who they are. We're talking about Jamaican drug dealers, all kinds of drug. People would live in my living room. I had my own bedroom, and they would live in my living room and in my mother's room. And every night it got late and I had to go to school, and I would chase them out. Now, multiple things happened before that when I was younger. Many more things happened before that. But you asked when I
Hmm.
snapped, and I kind of joined them. I started drinking at that point. I got involved in selling drugs myself at that point. I mean, I used to sleep with a. I'm sorry to pause up, but I had a bar, and this is like, those metal bars, and
Right, right.
and I was a tough kid, but I would literally chase them out of my house, and I gave up at that point. That's the true story. I gave up and I didn't know what to do. So I joined them. And that was the start of, I would say, the drinking, um, the dating of women, girls at that age, treating women like terrible. I mean, I could tell you stories where my mother would run into my room, and while she was getting beaten, she was butt naked. And so that's where I would say the journey started. I went through many, many more things before that.
But
Um,
the reason why I asked that is because
it's hard to even talk about.
there's a lot of youth and that is experiencing things like this now, and you know us as a community, we will see the kid, right? We only see, oh, they're bad, they're doing
Yeah,
this, right? And it's, but we don't think like, why though,
right,
right? Why is that child behaving in this manner? There's something that's happening that trigger that. Now there's just some people that are just bad,
right, right.
right? I'm
Sometimes,
just
yeah,
saying, but 9 out of 10 times, that kid is just in survival mode. And that's why I just wanted you to share that, because we need to sit back sometimes and reflect on that. I work in childcare, and sometimes, we have a child that's having a little more behavior.
right,
Sometimes you have to be like, okay, but what is going on, right? This always just can't just label them as bad and then just push them along. And that's what happens sometimes. And then those kids get lost. And that's why we
right. And then and
do
then
what we
and
do.
then you adopt some of those behaviors yourself.
Right.
Like,
As an adult.
yeah, as an adult, I
Right.
I adopted those behaviors. Right, I became very aggressive. I've been very ignorant towards women. I would just, again, when you grow up in that life, and I don't make excuses for myself, and I don't make excuses for the life I went through and the things I've done. I'm here because of the things I've gone through,
Right.
and I'm happy for that. Actually, believe it or not, sounds crazy to most, but this is how you start to build your self confidence. You start to grow, even at the age of 40. Right, that's when
Right.
I started not reinventing myself, but even coming out of my shell even more, and meeting Kelly 7, 8 years ago now, going on 8 years, and now we're doing things, helping the community, and where I feel like, for me personally, where Kelly's had my back was through a crazy divorce where I had to fight for my son. I'm not going to go deep into it, but Kelly had my back. And guys, when you have a woman that has your back through women that are trying to tear you down, she would tell me every day, right, that you're a great father, you're a great person, you're doing wonderful things, you're doing everything you can. And people would tear me down, like even the professionals, like you got to give more, you have to bend more. And I bent, right? How often did I bend?
Oh, we
Like
been.
for the kids, right?
Right, yeah,
For my
we
son,
did.
right? And how did it turn out for me? I still have my son,
Right, but
but
it didn't do any beneficial
it
things
didn't benefit.
that way they wanted it to. So I
No,
agree. I agree on that. And something that you said a little bit earlier about the aggression and being aggressive and how you
right,
felt towards women. And you know, this is the part where I'm saying again to people that about relationships, right? And those times where it's rough. And those are the
yeah, yeah,
times I'm talking about. Those are the times where I had to tell myself and reflect on I know where you're coming from, right? I know that you've been through certain things and not making an excuse for you because we never make excuses for ourselves, but trying to analyze that situation and understand and see through it, right?
right, right,
And there was many nights where I'm trying to see through it, like, okay, I see why he's reacting like that, and even for myself, because we all could trigger each other with certain things, right?
right,
You've said things to me that's triggered emotion. That's something that has happened to me like 20 years ago. You don't understand why my
right,
reaction was
right,
like that, but when you take the time out, and communication is the key,
right.
you know,
That's what I
and
was gonna say.
and we
Yeah,
have spoken and we have shared stories with each other to give that deeper understanding. Ladies, I used to talk to this man on the phone 24/7 when I lived in New York and he was here in
yeah, and I
Connecticut.
and I wasn't much. I wasn't, to be honest. I didn't like talking on the phone.
No, I
Right,
had the Bluetooth in my ear and used to go out and to my fashion shows, and sometimes I just got tired of going and just talk to
like
him all day. And that's how we really built, because we were
right.
sharing those moments with each other, and I would understand, like, okay, well, he's angry because of this, but this is why.
But
Now,
the good thing is that the anger dissipated.
no, yeah, of
Yeah,
course it goes away, but I'm trying to just narrow down on that point because that's when someone is wants to go, right? We could get into talking about something, and if you're not trying to understand where that person's coming from and
right.
work through it, you're like, okay, well, I don't need to deal with his issues. I'm out, right? Or his baggage, like we say. Well, we all got it. We all
Right.
have
I
something.
mean,
We all do. So, are you going to work with that person through it? That's the question.
right. And the thing that I would struggle with, even young, like black women in particular, I'd never wanted to date black women. And I know it's a stereotype, but man, the
What am I?
black women
In Puerto Rican.
and Puerto Rican. But right. So why do I say that? Very aggressive at times, and I'm
Okay,
a very manly man, right? So
that you are.
when it comes to it, it's like you can, right? She
Hmm.
does it.
Oh
She
yeah.
really doesn't do it now at all, which is fantastic. But in the beginning, like we said, if you challenge me, I'd be gone too. You can get out,
Right.
right?
It would be the
And
same.
that
That's what,
right.
but
So
that's what
that
I mean.
was
So
yeah,
you would be ready to go.
right. So how do you work through those things? Come to a mutual agreement and start to respect each other. I think we always respect each other, but work out some of the issues we
The
had.
issues wasn't
Well,
with,
I don't think we always respected each
no,
other.
but
It's just
the issues
yeah,
wasn't us.
right.
The issues what
Outside
we
people,
felt. No, but we felt
yeah,
inside, right? Because if I'm taking my past trauma with, my father, or, my past relationships, and I'm dragging them
right.
into, you do something that's reminding me of something that happened in a past relationship,
So
and I'm flipping out, right? I have to acknowledge that, because that's not fair to you, because
right,
you're not the same person. You're not that person. So it's reflecting on those things, taking a moment. Sometimes we don't. We're just quick to react.
right. People, a lot of people,
Right.
right.
You're quick to
Yeah.
react and you don't take a second to think.
Right.
And
You have
as
to do a lot of soul searching,
oh
right?
yeah.
But we get to a point where we start to grow. We moved to Bristol, right? A lot of things start to happen. How many we looked at multiple houses in Plainville. I mean, the reason why I want to fast forward just a little bit is because people need to know that you can get so much accomplished and do the things we're doing and have such a bright future as long as you communicate and you respect each other. And I think at the moment for me was definitely during COVID when we started our TikTok page.
Oh yeah.
And it was off a whim, guys. And
Yeah.
and honestly, so what happened was Kelly's daughter did like a little dance, and they kept saying, "Well, TikTok's
Mm-hmm.
big," and we're like, "Oh boy,
That's a
we'll
kids. That's a kids
never,
app. No, we we
we'll
we
never
consider it
do
a
it.
kids app.
Right. It
Yeah.
was a kids app, right?
Right.
So we upload it, and it gets what I think 500-600 views.
Yeah. I
And
don't remember.
nothing crazy. We're like, oh wow, like because we had been doing. Was it YouTube
It
at
was
that time?
YouTube at that
YouTube,
time.
and we struggled to do YouTube. We didn't understand it that well, and so we're like, all right, we'll try a little bit of TikTok. We like to have fun, and boy, did we ever start to get into TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And we became so because we were together all the time. I was working from home. Kelly was laid off because she hurt herself, right? So, I mean, you tell them what are some of the
I,
moments
I
where we
mean,
started to build this and then turned into helping the community because that's what we always wanted to do too.
right. I mean, building that TikTok page also build our communication, build
Yeah,
us working
absolutely.
together,
Yeah,
and then we saw another side of each other because you know it was about making people laugh. Now, COVID was a time where it was, it was a dark time and people were isolated. And the only way we could communicate with others at that
right.
time was through social media, through going on TikTok Live. And that was the engagement that we had. And I could say that those videos meant a lot to people and the
They
time
did.
that we put in it because people would tell us, I was feeling down and depressed,
Well,
and I will go onto your page and it made me laugh and it
well,
took me out of that mood. So that was the purpose of the page. It was just to make light of situations because
and boy did we. I mean, we have 300,000 followers to this day,
right,
and we haven't been on TikTok in 2 years.
2 years,
Well,
yes,
I mean, we upload like old videos,
right,
but
right,
we
right.
haven't done a new video in
And
it's about 2 years,
yes,
right? We
in like
bought
2
the
years.
house, and then
Yeah,
it's been 3 years about in this house now.
yeah.
Yeah, so we really stopped because we were
That's a whole
forced to
nother
kind of
conversation.
stop, and we'll talk about that again at another time.
Yeah.
We will dig into that stuff
Hmm.
too. But today is all about how can you become your best self? How can you, like if you have a significant other at home, go through trauma in your life, right? Deal with your own stuff, come together, be respectful, and then find somebody that you can build something, build an empire with. Because that's what we started, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're all over the place right now, and we're building an empire for ourselves, for our family, and to help others. And you can really do it. You can really come from nothing, right?
Hmm.
Individually, right? I've made success in my job. I have a very good job, and I do well. And you're doing well at your job currently. But really, when you find somebody that pushes you in a good way,
Right,
not in a way to
right.
keep you down or where I haven't drank in 11 years, she hasn't drank in 7 years. There was a time where I used to drink every single day of my life, but I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, helping
No.
the community, buy a great house,
Oh
right?
no, we'll just be turned up lit
Right. We'd
somewhere.
be turned up, and then we'd be arguing, and
And
we
we'll be
wouldn't.
arguing,
Yeah,
forgetting
right. And
people
we
don't
wouldn't
want to
get
see us.
anything
No,
accomplished.
nothing
But
will get accomplished.
but I
But
think
we'll love each other though.
I think people need to understand you could build into being a powerful person and a powerful couple.
Yes, you can.
And when you become a powerful couple, that means then guess what? You are a powerhouse, right? And
Exactly.
that's what this podcast is about. It's really about building up others through our
Hmm.
stories and through other individuals out there. Like there's not podcasts out there like this. It's always either a single person or it's about the news or just politics. We're going to cover a gamut of things because we can reach
But
down.
but reflect on the name. So together we solve is
Together that we solve.
because it wasn't our problems, our individual problems that we had and problems that we faced
In our skill
together,
set.
and we solved them together,
Right.
right? And then when we like to help people,
We
so
do.
it's also
Sometimes to our detriment, but
yeah. So we like to solve other people's problems. I always have people come to me and for advice, and I love giving advice to people and sharing my story with them while giving that advice because then it brings them to like, okay, you get what I actually mean. Like speak on the group home when you go
right.
to the group home and you were speaking to the
Right.
boys.
They can relate.
Right. They related to you. Why? Because you've been there, done that.
Correct.
And that's why it was so relatable to them. And they were open to
Right. I
you
grew up
being
just
there.
like them. Right. I go
Exactly.
speak, guys. I go speak at group homes. One in particular, and a group of 6, 7 boys.
Right.
They had multiple different people come through that organization, and it's run by a great lady. I mean, she does an amazing job
Mhm.
with those kids. But they told me to my face that I'm the first person that has come through these doors that can relate with them, and I set goals for them, and they met them. They still have their issues, for sure,
Well, we all do.
but you can see a little bit of a change in everyone, and that's really where our youth program stems from. that we
Exactly.
came up with, our background, our expertise from our jobs, and all the different things we've done in our life, all the accomplishments. Because I was just talking about this to somebody at work. I didn't tell you, honey. Man, I've won so many awards, even when I was younger, even when I was an alcoholic and up and down. I've been to Vegas winning awards. I mean, I was a top salesman, a top manager in multiple different positions. I could just never always hold it to the
Right.
highest level because when you're drinking, you have trauma, you then fall off a little bit. Like
Mhm.
out many things, like for Kirby, for you name it, right? I could have been even further along, but I'm happy where I'm at because then I got to meet Kelly, right? And the fight that I had to go through with my kids, boy, I've become so much more powerful inside of work, outside of work. I can now deliver a message to others together and separately, right? We get so much accomplished in our city, and we don't even get, nor do we want it, but people don't really even respect what we do in our city. Some do, but not to the level that they should. But that's okay because we're coming. We're coming as a couple, and we are coming to come over. I mean, boy, you guys don't even know. But I'll leave it for another time because I can go on about where we're heading and what we're doing. And you see us here tonight and you hear us here tonight. But Kelly, like, what is it that you think defines me as your man? I mean, what is one of the qualities would you say a woman should look for if they want to build, or just a couple or somebody out there that's saying, what is it, guys? What can we grasp onto? Because a lot of people have that doubt, right? Women, men,
Mhm.
you know. So let's speak to them.
What do you mean, like a trait
Yeah,
or?
trait or what is the
I mean,
qualities,
in general, whether your partner, whoever your partner
to build
is,
that power couple?
whatever your partner is, first, as the person needs to be accepted. And I think you need to accept yourself. Because if
Right.
you can't accept the things who you are and you don't know who you are, and then you get lost into what that other person wants you to be, that's a problem, right?
No.
So you have to be your true self. Not what they want, not what the society wants. What does Kelly want? And
Yeah.
what I loved about you is that you respected me for Kelly, not for when I come from an industry, you better. When I come from an
Yeah.
industry,
Sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
when I come
Yeah.
from an industry of beauty, right? I'm in the
Yeah.
fashion world, right?
Right.
So all it is, but you saw me for me.
Right.
Not the glitz and the glamour, right? You see me for me. You accepted the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And that's what you want to find, and then you can build with that person, but it works both ways, right? You got to accept that person as well,
Right.
for the good, the bad, and the ugly as well, and for their faults, and just learn how to navigate through that. And we've learned how to navigate through those times, and we learn, our arguments have grown shorter, right? And while
Yeah. I
we're
mean, we don't
arguing,
really.
because it's like then we realize why are we arguing, why
Yeah.
are
I
we having
mean,
a
it's
disagreement.
very limited.
It's very
Yeah.
limited because we understand each other.
Right.
Like, you don't have to say nothing sometimes, but I already know what you're thinking.
Yeah. Uh,
It works hand in hand because of the person that you
like
are. I
so.
know you. I know who you are. I know everything about you, and I think that's what's important.
So
You have
there's
to know your
there's
partner.
hope for people to build. I don't want to call it traditional because it is somewhat traditional, but to build that relationship where they can build a house together, a family together, or they can build a business together, it's possible.
I don't see why not. I don't see.
Because
It's all
everyone's
about
telling them it's
trust.
not, though.
But it's all about trust. You have to
Yeah.
trust yourself. You have to trust the person that you're with, and then you have to be willing to give in a little bit, right? I
Right.
had to to,
Give and
to
take.
shut it up down a little bit. My
But
loudness,
you've done
right?
well.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I said, you know what, Kelly, my aggression that was deriving from past. It wasn't
Right.
being aggressive because I'm trying to be aggressive at Derek. It was because
Right.
of things that happened and that aggression came out, right? My reactions, I was quick to react because you will say something that would trigger
Right. Right.
something, right? So I've learned, and I worked on myself. So people need to work on themselves first. Like, as a parent, as a mom, as a mother, we say, oh, we do everything for our kids, everything's for our
Well.
children. And I'm not saying don't do things for your kids, right? But if you're burnt out and you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your kids and give them the right attention and the right love? Same thing with your partner. Like, if you're
Right.
doing everything for your partner, everything's about your partner, but nothing's about you, right? That's where people start regretting things. They go, oh, I was going to go to college, but I had to do this with this person, or I was going to do this, but my kids. We only live once, guys, and life is so short. Live it to the fullest. You want to find somebody that is going to be there and help you live your dreams,
Right,
and
right.
then live your dreams together.
Like up until this point, Kelly, what can we tell people that defines our relationship? Or yeah, so answer
Madness.
that
No,
for
I'm just playing.
actually not even. But
Why don't you answer that question? What defines us?
yeah, so for me, from a man's
All right, from
perspective,
a man's perspective.
respect. Like respect is number one. Any man out there that is a high earning man or just a man that feels secure about that, they'll tell you respect. Like you could be an ugly woman, but you respect that man and they will respect you.
He said,
At yeah, no, seriously, that's just the truth.
"That's
Like,
not nice."
eh, hey, I'm not here to I want to deliver a message that
No,
is
I understand.
accurate from the point of view of
Right.
what
Okay.
men really think. This is not about being politically correct. This is about how I feel from my lens and all the different aspects I've been through right in my life. And I've been through a lot of different women, and I'm not ashamed of it because I would have never been able to deal with Kelly up front. Right.
Wow.
So it's just the truth. I mean, when I was younger, as I said a little earlier on, I my friends all the time would say, "Hey, what are you doing? Why don't you date a black woman?" Right? And I just didn't like the mouth. But we're here today for a reason.
Yeah.
And just to stick on it, for me, what really defines it, just respect. Like Kelly respects me and she has my back. Now, let me tell a little story. People talk about manifestation a lot of different times. And
Oh
this is
no.
crazy that I'm going to say this on the podcast, but so where my place is, my sanctuary, where I think the most is the shower. I'm a Pisces and I love the water, especially the shower. And night after night, after I got divorced, after I moved on, all those different things, I started working out. I started feeling better about myself. I started doing better even at work. But I lost like 80, 100 pounds before I met Kelly. I was pray to God every single night that I could meet a woman. This is what I was looking for: a woman that respected me, a beautiful woman. I know I should say I know it's superficial, but all
It's all
right.
right. It's all right.
And I have my back. Now I want to touch on that one because when you go through a life that I've gone through and you've been left in multiple different places, you also have trust issues. I've had major trust issues. So for me, I would tell a woman just get out, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
arguments would. Now I obviously didn't mean it sometimes, but that was just from being left and not having stability in my life. And I have stability. There's no reason why I should be saying those things to anyone at some point,
Mm-hmm.
especially after I quit drinking the past 11 years. I have stability in my life, but I just didn't trust. And Kelly built that trust. And that trust was built during COVID. I mean, I trusted her in the beginning. I
It
did.
wasn't easy.
Right. It's never easy
No,
sometimes,
it's
right?
not.
But we're here, we're teaching these people
Yes.
that you can grow, you can have your own podcast, you can be on multiple different platforms, right? You can have 300,000 followers, you can build a social media following, you
Well,
could,
but
right?
they can do what their dream is and what they desire. It
Right.
it,
But
it, it
I'm
could just
saying,
they
how do you
can
do it together?
it it's just
Like people want to know how
trust,
to make money.
respect, right?
People want to know how they can
It's
do it with
trust
a partner
and,
because they think
and
they have to do it
respect,
individually.
and it's communication.
Right. But people
So
think nowadays they have to do it individually. That's what I'm touching on
right.
here, Kelly. I'm getting to a point of why this podcast came to be. People would see us walk in the room as a powerful couple and say, "Hey, if I didn't go, where's Kelly?" Or
Right. You're right.
or
Yeah.
where's
We
Derek?
couldn't
Vice
be
versa. I
apart.
know I
No.
said that backward, but
Yeah.
right. So it became we're the couple. We'd walk in the room first as a couple. Then they said, "Oh, you're the power couple," because we just started accomplishing things. We won a Business Better World
The
award.
BBB,
I
yes.
said that a little off, but
Mhm.
so you can go through life and then you could build a foundation with somebody and then you can build a legacy with somebody. And that's her goal. At least that's my goal. That's always been my goal in my life after, I always want to do something to the fullest, drink to the fullest or exercise
Mm.
to the fullest or
Right.
right. Or whatever it is. Right. And now we've grown to a point where we're taking off. Right. And we're accomplishing. We do have we still have a clothing company. Right.
Mhm.
We don't sell clothes at this moment, but we did accomplish that. We
Right.
did put it out. First black owned, two people, um, clothing
In
company
Bristol.
in
Yes.
Bristol. In Bristol.
Mhm.
First black owned nonprofit by two people that happen to be black in Bristol. It's no one has a nonprofit that's like they sit at the helm, but they don't have their own individual nonprofit like we do. Two people together, right? Power couple podcast right now happening as we speak.
Yeah.
It's the truth,
No, I
right?
know. I
And
know.
and we got to recognize the truth because people are out there asking and wondering, is this still possible in this day? And yes, it's possible. Even with all the issues that we've had and all the things we've gone through, we strengthen our bond and now we're pushing through and we're on different platforms, we're doing different things and our nonprofit is starting to expand. Um I mean that's where it stems for me.
Okay. You wanted me to answer that question?
You can answer it, baby.
Well, I mean, it's going to be respect, of course, right? And it's just to me, what really makes us work is the communication
Yeah, I
aspect,
agree.
is the communication because we're both not used to communicating. We're used to getting angry and walking away,
In the past, yes.
right? In the past, right? So we both had to work through that communication piece for ourselves and we had to work through that communication piece together. But once we learned how to
I
communicate,
agree.
that brought us closer. So if it was during COVID because we were together all the time and we had no choice but to communicate,
Right.
but we always been together.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean we're
since I moved here,
yeah.
we have not been apart. Only 1 week. One
Right.
week.
Oh yeah, you're right.
When you took
When I
my
took the
kids.
kids.
Right. You took
So
my kids
yeah.
and your sons to vacation, and I stood here working because I just
Great
started a
Wolf
job.
Lodge.
Right. That was the only week
I've
apart.
taken the kids other times when they
Right.
were working, but
But
not for a full week.
for a full week,
Right.
I was by myself, and it felt so weird because I felt I was missing something. So I couldn't have done what I'm doing now without you because
Right.
we kind of
Yeah.
keep each other balanced and we stable each other out.
No, I
God
agree.
knows
Yeah.
we talk each other down or talk each other up. We are the yin and yang of each other.
Yeah. I think we are so conscious, especially being Pisces. I know most
Yeah.
people don't believe in it, but
Yes, we are.
or even just say having the background if you had a tough
Mhm.
background, right? I watch a lot of positive things, right, on YouTube and on TV. I try to stay away from a lot of negative things. So it's another thing I'll tell people: try to stay away from anything negative about relationships. Try to stay away from anything negative about, oh, it can't work or you don't have to be together all the time. I want to touch on this because I used to sell Kirby's door to door when I was younger, right out of school, 18 years old. And like I said, I won a lot of awards through that. But I used to meet couples, black, brown, white, that were together 30, 40, 50 years. And I never understood because divorce was happening at a high
Mhm.
rate even back then, 20 years ago, even more so now. And they would tell me we're always together and we communicate and we respect each other. So exactly what I'm saying today, I didn't even think it was possible back then.
Right.
Call me a gigolo, pimp, whatever you want to call me. But it's still stuck in my head, right? Because at my heart, I was always a good man, a good person, right? No matter what I went through.
Mhm.
So I'll say to people right now, and I'll say to men, guys, if the woman respects you, that's the one. That's the one. If she trusts you, don't break that trust, right? Don't break that trust because you break her heart, right? And you don't want to
Don't
break
you
their
do
heart.
I got a
So
backyard.
point
Trust me.
being is she'll push you to that next level, right?
Mhm.
She'll push you to that next level to where now you're making more money, you're doing more things, and now you're growing together, you're going places, you're going on trips, you're doing multiple different things. You're pushing yourself outside your boundary because that woman is helping you. Because well, you'll speak for yourself, right?
Mhm.
When you see your man getting stronger, doesn't it make you more
Of
excited,
course.
right? Because
Of course.
you don't want
Because
to. I don't want to
what are you
be.
gonna say?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah, I
want
might
a
get in
weak, we don't want
trouble
a
these
weak
days.
man.
Yeah, I mean,
I
right.
mean, you always want someone that is, that you're gonna build each other up. Like everybody has their
Right.
moments, but if I see you succeeding, I'm gonna be happy for that because I'm helping you along the way, and we both succeeding.
Yeah,
I
like
don't look at it. You're just succeeding. We're
right.
both succeeding. So if you're doing something and you're accomplishing that, we're accomplishing that together.
Like if you're down today, let's say you don't feel as pretty, right? Because women are a lot more emotional,
We have
right?
our
And I
moments.
have to be like it. I joke about it all the time.
I
Even
know.
at the gym I'm at, we joke about it all the time. Women complain a heck of a lot more than men.
Yes, we do.
But you have to listen to them, and then you have to say it's okay. I get it,
Exactly.
right? So that's like helping Kelly or your significant other out of their situation.
Out of that little slump that
A
we
little
may be
slump.
having.
Everyone goes through a little slump. It's just getting out of that slump.
Right.
And
And how long you sit in it.
yeah,
Is how long you sit in that thought process. Whatever it is, if days have passed and you're still angry, sometimes you're gonna be angry, you don't even know what you're angry about anymore, and you're walking
and
around angry.
that's why I think this youth program is so unique and different than anything anyone's ever put out there. I don't care if people think there's similar things out there. They're wrong, because it is totally different. It is point of view from people that have struggled, that know how to put things together and execute, right? We know how to execute. We both are managers. We both do well. We built the race. We built the race at a time where a 5K race for other nonprofits. Now it's going to go towards our youth program, but when no one wanted us to do it, let's be honest, right? Politically in our town, and I'll say flat out, they tried to stop us, right? It's going to be our 3rd year, and we're proud to do it again. I was an avid runner after I lost weight and after I stopped drinking, to the point where I ran a 19-minute 5K 3 years ago, right? So when you build together, you can build an empire, right?
Agree.
You can build an empire. And you don't have to let people discourage you, your girlfriend, the guy friends out there, and say, hey, you shouldn't have this relationship. You shouldn't have this relationship because...
Well, when people do that, I mean, either
are those the right people?
Well, sometimes it could be something that is like on your best interest, where you're in a situation,
if
right?
somebody's beating you,
right.
Yeah, right.
But 9 out of 10 times when somebody is doing that, that's stemming from jealousy, because they're not having what you have, and they don't want you to have it. You know, misery likes company. So be careful the people you surround yourself with, and look at those red flags, because if somebody doesn't want you to be successful, and it could even be your partner, right? If you're trying to accomplish something,
I agree,
and they're telling you, why you doing that?
Right.
No, why you going back to school, or why you want to work there,
Right.
and it's to benefit you, then that's the problem.
Now, if they give you a reason, just like you said,
Right. If there's a reason, yes. But if there's
like
no
if she's
reason,
out and she's not answering her phone,
Right, that's
and
something
stuff
different.
like that, guys, yeah, of course, leave. But so vice versa. But if she's supportive of you and she wants to go back to school, Kelly went back to school. Let him go back to school, right? She makes more money. It helps the household. And then you can grow and you can build a business, right?
Right.
You can fund your business. But where can people, because we don't have that much longer, what can they expect from us next, Kelly, on the podcast, and where are we heading with our nonprofit?
I mean,
the different things we offer?
What they can expect from us is advice. It's 2 people here that just wants to help others and want people to understand where we come from and our story. They'll learn more about us and what we do, and they can be part of that. And I feel that we'll have other people here as guests that can share their stories as well. And with our nonprofit, it's just about giving back to the
we're
community.
only growing.
We're only growing.
Honest to God, check out our...
Yeah, so
our website.
I welcome everybody to, of course, subscribe to Nutmeg TV on YouTube, and to follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, at Together We Solve. Thank you, and we are looking forward to our next podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lin.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.
Sometimes life just happens. Don't worry. Farmington Motorsports will get you back on the road and at a fair price. From towing to tires, emissions to transmissions.
Our ASC certified techs do it all.
Farmington Motorsports is a family-run business. We're a Napa Auto Center and AAA approved. We work on all makes and models from preventative maintenance to major repairs.
And every repair is backed by our 2-year, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty.
When life happens to you, don't worry. Farmington Motorsports.